Fun time, Freddy, you dog. What's up, guys? Severed Slime here, and today we're going over the rest of the Five Nights at Freddy's Animatronics favorite beers. That's right, all of their favorite road sodies. If you didn't see part 1, who cares? You're not really missing much, it's just more of this. Either way, let's get into it, as I'm sure you've already grown tired of my trite banter. Circus Baby's brew of choice would be a crisp cold Budweiser. Bottled, not canned, of course. Bellora's favorite beer is going to be a Heineken. Fun Time Foxy is going to be quite fond of a nice chilled Pabst Blue Ribbon, canned, not bottled. Fun Time Freddy is, as shown, going to be a steadfast Coors Light fan. Bon Bon, on the other hand, is going to like Bud Light, because he and it are blue. Ennard, however, is most typically going to reach for a Corona Extra. Yendo is most often going to be found slugging down a Keystone Light. Lolbit is usually going to want to be drinking a Sam Adams. Bonnet can be seen tossing back a Blue Moon. Hand Unit is of course going to be drinking a Busch Light Peach. Helpy would of course hammer down some Miller High Lifes. Number 1 Crate would be most likened to Lone Star. Bucket Bob is of course going to be reaching for a Schlitz. Mr. Can Do is going to be most fond of Budweiser as well, canned, not bottled, however. Pan Stan is going to be so very fond of a nice cold Miller Lite. Mr. Hugs, on the other hand, is a recovering alcoholic, so he only ever reaches for a Coors Edge, so he doesn't feel left out. Scrap Baby is still going to be fond of a bottled Budweiser, her tastes haven't changed. Molten Freddy, having since ejected Baby, now find themselves loving a nice Dos Equis Amber. Scrap Trap, of course, is going to still reach for a Guinness. It's still gross and he's still British. Happy Frog isn't allowed to have alcohol since the incident, so she has to settle for a Budweiser Zero. Pig Patch, surprisingly, typically is going to reach for a Modelo. Ned Bear is going to be oh so pleased to sit down with the Coors Banquet. Bottled, not canned for him. Mr. Hippo would be more than overjoyed to sit in the park with his good buddy Orville, drinking a Busch Light Apple. Orville would of course feel right at home at the park with his good pal Mr. Hippo, also with a nice cold can of Babble. Rockstar Freddy would be most fond of a nice cold Coors Light. Rockstar Bonnie would absolutely get down on a case of Busch, but like the cool promotional fishing cans that got like salmon and bass on them. Rockstar Chica, as unoften as she drinks, is usually going to opt for a Kona Big Wave. Rockstar Foxy, Yarg! Is going to drink a lot of Voodoo Ranger IPAs, typically reaching for the Juice Force flavor. Lefty's mostest favoritist beer is going to be a nice chilled Bud Light Lime. Music Man is going to guzzle down some Sam Adams. Fun Time Chica can of course be found drinking a Watermelon 4 Loko. Those count. El Chip is of course also going to go for a Modelo whenever available. Candy Cadet, however, is usually going to reach for a Voodoo Ranger Tropic Force flavor. It only takes a few of those to get some more unnerving stories out of him. Glamrock Freddy would of course prefer to crack open a nice cold can of Busch Light Peach. Glamrock Chica would actually more often than not go for a Stella Artois. Roxy would usually opt for a bottle of your standard issue Dos Equis. Big Man Monty would of course be found slugging down some Fat Tire Ale. Glamrock Bonnie would enjoy a nice cold Natty Light. The Glamrock Endo, blank slate as he is, would of course by default go to a Bud Light. Sun and Moon, both of them, would typically prefer a Pabst Blue Ribbon. DJ Music Man would be most fond of the 6-point Resin, whereas the Staff Bots, all of them, would drink exclusively the Fruit Punch 4 Loko. The Blob would drink random innocuous blank kegs with no regard for their contents. Just a big vapid pot of booze. Burn Trap would of course still drink Guinness. That will never change. Mr. and Mrs. Helpful would be both quite fond of a cold Blue Moon. Jackie used to be a bartender actually. However, her liquor license was revoked after selling shots to a 15-year-old. So she can't buy alcohol anymore. The Digitiper would be most fond of a Michelob Ultra. Big Top would of course enjoy Busch, but like those special promotional cans for farmers that have like fields and tractors on them? Yeah, those ones. Dolly, being a nurse, would typically refuse to drink. However, after a particularly rough shift, she'd usually opt for a Coors Banquet, canned, not bottled, however. Party Time Chica would surprisingly reach for the Grape 4 Loco, whereas the Cupcake would reach for an Anchor Steam beer. M2, the Bear Mimic, would absolutely put away Busch Light Lime. Tiger Rock would, of course, get down with some Miller High Life. Moon, but like the creepier older one, would drink Guinness, because he's creepy and would like something gross like that. And lastly, Edwin Murray himself, Old Man Consequences. I will die on this hill. Edwin Murray is Old Man Consequences. He's not an animatronic, but I don't care. He's cool, and he's definitely Old Man Consequences. Would drink Miller Lite. And that's going to cap off the rest of the Five Nights at Freddy's Animatronics favorite beers. I know I left out some of the smaller ones like the Mini Arenas and the Bitty Babs and those weird little like prototype mimics at the end of, that come chasing you at the end of Secret of the Mimic. Yeah, but if I missed any of the major ones, please let me know. I may or may not amend this at some point. Furthermore, if I had to align myself with the likes of one of the animatronics, I'd probably put myself right there alongside Mr. Hippo and Orville. There's nothing quite like the smooth, appley flow of a nice can of babble. So that's going to do it for today. If you've watched this far, thank you so much, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. But most importantly, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Bye-bye.